All right, congratulations everybody. We're here. We made it to the C1X table. Today we get to talk to Scott Smirchek, Michael Sizemore, and Peter Burrez. How are you guys?
Doing good. How's it going?
Dude, thanks for coming out.
Thanks, man.
This is awesome.
It's good to be back.
Especially being back. Michael, thank you for coming back again.
Yeah, glad to be here. It's
Yes.
a fun time last time, and I'm glad to hopefully have another fun time tonight.
Yes, for sure. And today we got Peter. Peter's my mentor in disc golf. He's the guy who got me into everything.
Oh, man.
Told me everything that I need to know, the discs I need to buy, how to throw, because, you know, coming from an ultimate background, I needed a mentor. You're the man.
I'm glad I could help.
Yes. So I'm so happy you're on here. I had to have you on. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Today, though, is a special episode. We're flipping things around. Co-host, jumping the table. Yes, we got Scott Smirchek, CTO, UDisc.
Yeah.
This is exciting to dive into. I know, Michael, you've got a lot of questions.
Just a few, yeah.
Just a few.
I'll let you start, though.
Well, to start, honestly, I was like, oh yeah, my buddy Scott, he's a CTO of UDisc. And I was just like, I have to Google CTO of UDisc. Like, what's CTO? So to start off, I just want to start with, let's just explain what is Chief Technology Officer in general to the world for people who are thinking like, that seems like maybe like a career for me or a path I want to go. And then what does that mean like specifically for UDisc?
Yeah. CTO is typically, I guess you have C-suite is what we would, a lot of people would refer to those as. So at a big company, especially, you have like Chief Executive Officer, CEO, CTO is the Chief Technology Officer. So it's just like different kind of departments at the highest level of a company to kind of set the tone for strategy and where the company is going and help lead the entire company forward. And there's lots of other C-suites like information and security and, all these other things. But a chief technology officer, especially in the sense of like startups and technology companies, is really about setting the tone for what the software engineering or like tech disc, hardware engineering, perhaps, like what is our standards? Like, how do we develop software? How do we and have the ultimate responsibility for the quality of the engineering that is like building the product. So like at a company like Facebook, Meta, like they're overseeing tons of people. At a company like UDisc, we're still small. So we have 25 or so people. So, it's not as much for me, like overseeing a ton of people, but it is like caring about and having responsibility over all aspects of like the technology that our product is built on. So that could mean the apps and like the technology we use there and the APIs and the website and like tools that we purchase or buy or like integrate with and everything about that.
Everything. It sounds like I heard everything.
I have a lot of hats. Wear a lot of hats.
So a CTO is a lot of hats. It's not just like, I just focus on this one thing. It really is like, we need to make sure everything is cohesive or just...
Yeah, I mean, I've always had a lot of hats, and I think that's why this is like a good fit for me at UDisc, is I've always been super interested in like diving into details, but having a really broad perspective. So I'm always been thinking about like where we're going or like how we can engineer something now to solve a problem, but in a way that also is thinking ahead 5 years of like, this will lead to this and then lead to this. And like, we can build on that. So it's like having that broad perspective to get beyond like just what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, like helping anybody, and like at a company like UDisc, we have, lots of stuff that we're not just building the app, we're also building tools to support the app and help, courses and help like get more courses. I mean, we have to moderate and support the product. So there's all sorts of tools and automations that we're building as well behind the scenes. So, yeah.
Definitely behind the scenes. I don't think anybody sees anything that you're talking about. Like we all just are like out there using the app and like scoring and maybe making feedback and stuff like that. It's like, thank you for the feedback. We're on it. Like it sounds like you're very much looking forward and very on top of everything. And that sounds like a very busy, like it's not a chill job. I feel like that's not a chill job.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun though. Like I think I've always like tended towards going kind of beyond just like doing only what was asked, I suppose. And so I'm always like super interested to like dive deep and like learn more, always like want to be learning and like pursuing the next thing and like, how can we do this, or like learning about a new technology and like, how can we apply that here? And so like that's the fun part about it, is to think about the strategy and like, where can we take this? Like, what are some amazing things we can do with this?
And just knowing you for, I think, a while now, I mean, we're going to back up here a bit because we got to like, I wanted to start just by saying, okay, UTO CTO or UDisc CTO, what does this even mean? But we'll back up a little bit. But I just know that about you, as far as you're not interested in clocking in and clocking out. You've always been that type of person that just, you want to know everything about it. You want to make sure that it's being done the right way. And you're always very interested on like the sort of the future and radar on everything that's out there. And like, you just are always looking for the new and the best way to do things. And like, that's just, if anybody knows you, they know that about you. And
yeah.
So it's not surprising that you're in the position you're in, because I think you're just like perfect for it, for sure.
Thanks.
I do have a bunch of questions for the early days at UDisc when we get there.
Yes.
Then we'll farther back first, but
Yes.
bringing that mentality into a young company with only 9 people, with 2 founders who've been there forever, how do you develop into that CTO, and how does all those relationships change?
Yeah.
But I think we'll get there.
Yeah,
Sure.
we will.
Yeah. No, I think that's
You can answer it now if you want. I don't care.
No, I got a lot of follow-ons. It's going to take a while.
Okay. Yeah, so that's the role right now. That's everything that you're kind of responsible for at UDisc. And I think that's good just for everyone listening, just to be like, oh, that's what a CTO means at a company, tech company in general, but also just like, it was cool. It's nice to just be like, oh, but in a disc golf company, especially UDisc, like that's what that means. But yeah, let's back up, because you actually started in Ultimate before you got into disc golf, right? So like, what's the early days of Ultimate for you?
Yeah, I played like in college. So I graduated from K-State in 2010. We played recreationally back then. I remember just throwing the Frisbee around probably for the first time, like learning how to throw like a flick, just in the courtyard or like by the dorm, just like chatting with friends. Mm-hmm. So that was like probably my first introduction to like actually throwing a Frisbee, like more than just like I don't know, growing up or whatever.
Sponsored like plastic thing that's given out at elementary schools and
yeah,
stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was like an actual like disc, like an Ultra Star, and my friend, he was like into it and like could throw, and he was teaching us all how to.
Who is the friend?
Sam Browning. He he could throw it, and so he was teaching us all, and we of course did the thing where you just like every time you throw it, it just like rolls over.
Cut roll,
yeah, cut roll, exactly. But then like that was it, just recreational, and then graduated. Came to Kansas City and didn't really play in it at all. Like just kind of did whatever. I don't even,
got a job.
Probably
got married. Like
yeah,
like
I got married, did all that stuff. But then, a friend of mine, Brad Belden, he introduced
AKA Fun
Dip, as you know him. He's like, plays Ultimate and Summer League. And I was like, okay, like, sure, I'll try that out. It sounds hard. Sounds like a lot of running, but okay, like, let's try it. And so that's how I met you. Mm-hmm. Like, it was your team that we signed up for. Mm-hmm. And, I think I just fell in love with it again, like to play, like you're an excellent captain. Like if anybody knows you, they know you're an excellent captain of Ultimate. Just make like a fun team. It was just like one of the most fun summers I've had. And so I was just like, I want to keep doing this. Like, this is awesome. I think I played in the fall that same year. Cause I was just like, this is great.
Yeah.
But summer league was where I was at. So I was like, definitely coming back to that next year.
And summer league is great. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Cause you met him at summer league too, right?
Yeah, it might have been the next year we were discussing that.
Yes.
And they're, like you said, they're spring, fall, maybe, but
Summer's where it's at.
summer's the base. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember like I for sure was like super out of shape and like felt it that first year. And then so next year I like vowed, I was like, I am going to start running.
I remember that. Yeah.
I was like, I have got to get in shape for this before summer starts, so I'm not like dying.
Yeah.
But yeah, next year we're same team again.
So this is like 2014's first year. Now you're talking about 2015.
Yeah.
So like going into the next summer league because now you're jazzed or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna work out and be ready for 2015. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
that you were on our team for 2015.
That's when Peter. So yeah, but I mean we've done summer league every year since then, except for COVID, and then but yeah. So I think that's when we first kind of heard what disc golf was.
Yes.
So Peter joined the team, and he like throws these like amazing hucks, like just
one of the best poolers at summer league for sure.
It's just like
We would fight over it.
dang.
Yeah, well, once I learned from you, like then it was like, oh, I can kind of do what Peter's doing. But like you could, I mean, just to put perspective, like a lot of guys literally throw as hard as they can to pull from, one end zone to the other. And Peter's like, no, I have to like dial it back to like 60%. Otherwise I'm just going to chuck it out the back of the end zone. And so you and I still do this to this day, but like watching you huck, it's like you were able to put it so high, just gently turns over and just like helicopters down forever. And I'm like, that's the right pull and I'm going to learn this. And I worked really hard at it, but disc golf helps a ton with pulling.
Yeah, was it a disc golf skill that you brought to Ultimate, or was that learned in Ultimate?
Yeah, I mean, I played both like side by side, but like that skill came from playing disc golf for sure.
100%.
Yeah.
Because I didn't understand how you could do it. Because I was like, he's barely throwing it.
It's hard. It's different because the disc is so big with an Ultimate disc.
Yes.
So it's an acquired skill to try to learn. But if you can, you can do.
Well, you're like a
saying.
rock master, so it makes sense, like understable rocks and just throw it 400 feet. But yes, it's like it wasn't until I started playing disc golf that it was like, oh, I'm unlocking a whole nother level here.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's a tangent for sure. But that was a fun year. 2015 was fun.
Yeah. So, I mean, I remember that's kind of when Peter introduced us to disc golf a little bit. You kind of got into it.
I started getting into like the year before, a little bit before, I played one last club Ultimate for Prairie Fire, went on to nationals, but then 2015 was like, and now I'm transitioning to disc golf. I had a big family or whatever, but I needed to stay closer to home and not spend thousands of dollars. Instead, like make money.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool. But so yeah, I very much got into it.
Yeah.
And you were 100% Birdland a lot, a lot of rounds together.
Lunch rounds at Birdland.
Yes.
That was it.
A lot of lunch rounds at Birdland.
And I think I just saw like that happening and kind of like, it's kind of interesting. Like I'm just getting into Ultimate. So like, that's really kind of where I want to be.
Yes.
So like, it just kind of seemed like disc golf's like a little weird. I don't know. I think played once like that year.
You just weren't convinced.
We just like went to like a little 9-hole course and it's like
Harmon Park.
Yes. Yeah. I got like this little starter pack.
Yes.
Yeah. A little
He
classic.
doesn't have all three of them, but like
lost the shark,
but come on.
Leopard and
He
AVR
still has
there.
them.
The end of a starter set.
This is blowing my mind that you showed up today with these.
Yeah, I know. That AVR is like 150 grams or something. And so anyway, I was like, and then those stayed in my garage for a while and we kept playing Ultimate, still love it. And then I don't know, like you got super into it.
Crazy into
and for whatever reason, I was still like, just kind of like on the outside, like,
We were talking about before the show. It was like, we don't even know.
I don't know what was really going through my mind at that point.
Maybe you're just into Ultimate. Like, I don't know. I'm into Ultimate. Like, I'm training for Summer League. I don't know.
Yeah. But then at some point, whether it's like getting older or whatever, or just the amount of exposure I got from you and like Peter and everybody else is like playing it. Then in 2018, that's when it hit me, and I like played it again. And I think I started just like maybe to like exercise, like I'm gonna go and like run. It's like, okay, that'll be good.
The running gun.
Yeah. And then I don't know, like then I just started like got a few of those throws, you know, like the throws that like everybody probably remembers of just like, oh
I did
like
it.
it finally, like now I actually feel like I'm getting somewhere here.
Yes.
And that's, I think, what like got me hooked of like that constant improvement that I was seeing. I was like, okay, like now I'm kind of getting into it. That's like what Michael loves about me.
Well,
He's like
yeah.
over there, just like,
Kind of the perfect
you're a
disc
player.
golf role model. Yeah, exactly the consumer profile we try to target, because it's such a fun time in your disc golf career. And unfortunately, it doesn't typically last forever. But
Yeah.
when you're into it and you're hooked by that, you know, that constant adrenaline, like, oh, I can get better and better and better.
Yeah. So I was like immediately like, okay, I'm gonna like, what tournament can I play? Like that'll really like, so I can practice for it. And I remember like before I'd go into work, I would be like, okay, I can like get in 9 holes at Harmon Park. Like that same
Yeah,
one we went that very first round that I played, I would go there and just like,
No, I remember you talking about like I just got some Gore-Tex shoes because all the dew in the morning. I can't get my yeah. You would like drop your daughter or son off, and then you play Harmon real quick, but it would just be like so wet.
yeah.
But you were in.
Yeah. And I think like for me, like this can kind of transition to like how we got towards UDisc, because I was like, I had 3 or 4 years into my job and like it was okay, but it wasn't like I wasn't loving it anymore. And so disc golf kind of was like filling that like need to like feel challenged in a way that like I wasn't at work anymore. So like I kind of like having something to really dive into and learn and like grow and like challenge yourself. Like disc golf was really like starting to fill that void for me. And so like, yeah, like every time I could, I would go out and throw in the field, like right across the street. And then, you know, it just kind of kept snowballing from there, just wanting to keep getting better and better.
Well, on that note, a little bit, this is for me is very much true. And it's, I mean, I imagine it's for you guys too, but like, especially coming from Ultimate, it's like you can go to a field and practice your pulls, and you can practice like your flicks and stuff to nobody if you want. But it's hard. Like to practice, you need a team, you need a buddy, you need someone to like meet you there. You need to do the thing. Disc golf, you can literally do whenever you have the time, and you can practice as much as you want. And I know for sure for me, that is really what got me into it. Being so heavy in Ultimate, and I was like, I think I'm going to transition to this. We would play a lot, but also like when you couldn't make it out. I mean, I was playing like almost every day.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is, I'm going to use unlocking, like, but it's just like to be able to go practice something by yourself and to get better by yourself and not need anyone else is really addicting. Yeah. And I'm like, I have a very addictive personality. So it's just, when I got hooked to it, it was like, that was it. It was almost just for that factor for me.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised, because I'm like, yes, go on. We're
I think a lot of disc golfers remember that time in their life when a 6:45 a.m. round made a lot of sense.
Yes.
And they were excited about that.
Before work.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a while ago.
Sure. But there's people
and
right now that are going, yes.
Yeah. I'd wake up at 6:15 in the morning. There's nothing else I'd rather do than get out to Shawnee Mission Park and throw 18 holes before work.
I mean, like my son had just been born, and it's like I'm carrying him in a stroller at 7 a.m. because he's waking up at 6:30 or whatever. I'm like, what can I do? Like, I can go to Rosedale and like put on my Gore-Tex shoes because it's entirely too wet, but we're going to throw. And like, he's chill. He's in the stroller, but like it takes work, but like it was so worth it.
So worth it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember how long it was where we met after you'd started getting serious into disc golf, but I don't think it was too long. Yeah. But I think I remember I asked you if you had some videos of your throw. I was trying to work on like the video tool where you could analyze your form video automatically. So like, hey Scott, do you have any footage of yourself? He's like, oh yeah, here's a Google Drive folder. Okay, great. Here, I need
Yeah.
1 or 2 videos. No, here's like 50 gigs or 100 gigs of videos in here.
What?
Like, Scott, you have not been playing long enough to generate this much video of yourself. You might need help.
Yeah,
But it was great.
It was like I had the perfect spot across the street with a field that was like wide open, and it was like they mowed it, so it was easy to find your discs, and I could just like lunchtime, like this was working remotely because of COVID time ish. And so like I would just go across the street and throw like in the middle of the afternoon for a little break. And yeah, I'd bring out the tripod and, record some slow-mo throws to like try to improve. But that was like, yeah, really pushing to like get that elusive like 300-foot throw. But yeah, like
You were well over 300 feet now.
now, yeah.
Well
So I
over.
made it.
Yeah, you're well.
It was all
beyond.
worth it, man.
Yeah. But I knew I didn't need a rangefinder at that point because I had thrown on that field so much. I knew exactly where 300 feet was. And then as soon as I got that, like past that, like I was like, oh, what's that?
I need to get a new field.
Do you remember like the throw of the disc?
I know. I don't know.
Okay.
I remember
Sometimes people
measuring
just
some
remember
throws on UDisc, and it's kind of funny because it's like the only 2 throws I've ever measured. Like I don't,
funny.
use that a ton, but it was like, some like a DD Raider or something. And it's like 298 feet. And I was like probably really proud of that throw.
Oh, for
like I need to
sure.
measure that. So like that was probably the one. But yeah, it's like that's not my farthest throw, but it's my farthest throw in UDisc. So
Nice. Where did you guys meet?
We met, was it through like the disc golf
podcast, like Slack group. Yeah.
What do you
like,
mean you met in?
So
You met on the internet.
Yeah.
Yes, oddly enough.
Yeah.
met on the internet. So I had a friend from my college disc golf team who was really into he was just the disc golf podcast, right?
Yeah.
He was really into this podcast. Hey, you got to listen to it. And then the Slack is crazy. You got to get on the Slack. It's like, okay. So I listened to the podcast, got in the Slack, and ended up meeting a couple guys from Kansas City on there.
Yeah.
You and Ben, at least. And got together for a round out at Cedar Ridge.
Yep.
Might have been the first one.
That was it.
And yeah, it was crazy.
And I was like, and he was talking about like, I was working at this healthcare company. He's like, oh, I've heard of that. And I was like, how have you heard of that? And it's like, oh, like I'm in hardware engineering. So
cross paths.
Yeah. So I was just like, that's a wild connection. And then we just, stayed in touch from there, I think. But yeah.
Well, I remember we play weekly, just like a lunch round, just like that's our get together. But I remember you were out there for some reason. I feel like it was a weekly thing. You were out there with somebody else, and I was like, that's where I met you for the first time.
Oh, really?
At Rosedale, I think. And I that's Michael Sizemore. He like works at Bushnell. And I was like,
yeah.
I was like, what
You
the
were
heck?
like testing or something? I don't know what you were doing.
I mean, I'm always testing.
Yeah.
There's lots of reasons to go out and test.
But that's where I first saw you, was at a Rosedale, and he pointed me towards you. And then I was like, oh, we got to get him to putting night. And it wasn't like not too long later that you came to putting night.
Okay.
But
I'll be honest, I didn't realize that was you. But I remember coming to putting night that first time.
Yeah.
That was a blast.
yeah, I
That was
think
so much
was
fun.
the podcast guy there?
I don't know if Ben was there or not.
Was Ben there? I feel like Ben was there.
Maybe.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, maybe.
I feel like we got you guys
Yeah.
all on there.
Yeah.
It was a fun night.
That was a blast.
Yeah.
That was a blast.
Yeah.
But no, the putty nights were good. Like that was definitely part of the development too. Like
Oh, putting nights are great.
just I think that like game, like making that a game to like learn and practice, and like also just like seeing like Peter like and Isaac, who you had on last week, like those guys, like you guys are just like, oh wow, that's really good. Like, but I can like get there, or like you just have, it just gives you lots of opportunities to have that like amazing shot.
Yes.
It's fun when distance isn't an obstacle and anybody can make that
Yes.
amazing 45-footer over the printer onto the cutting machine. Yeah. Anybody could make that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we're outside this room, and there's a big warehouse, and we have all kinds of stuff and kinds of obstacles and stuff like that. But there's always a basket, 2, maybe 3, and we play a lot of like, I'll just say horse but we play the Jomez game sometimes. We play the sort of the horseshoe game. I don't know any of the names, but But a lot of times too, like we'll just hand out Post-it notes and be like, you go pick 3 spots, you pick 3 spots, you pick 3 spots. And we just pick crazy random spots in the warehouse. And then we just we basically play like an 18-hole course. And it's just really fun. Putting nights are the best though, but that's right. It's like, it's not really a distance competition at that point. It's just like these tricky little, and you're going to be good at some kind of putts and I'm going to be terrible at some. Like I'm so bad at high release putts, but like Isaac, Kevin Zane, that's like right in their wheelhouse.
I thought
They're
Kevin
going to make
would
it every
be
time.
bad at some kind of putts, but I haven't found him yet.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's funny to like go to a spot and like the spin putters are going to drain it and the pitch putters are going to like suffer. They won't even get through the hole, like, or whatever. But
yeah, like I remember like just being terrible, like some of the first nights, but then eventually like, just like, it was just so encouraging because like everybody's like rooting everybody on, but like just like finally getting to that point after having practiced that like, it's like, oh, we were doing like some, you know, you do 10 putts from like 20 feet or something. And it's just like, I'm making like one after another. And it just like that really didn't happen that often for me, but it like felt amazing. You know, like you're just like, oh, like I've made it kind of. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
No, I love putting nights. They're one of my favorite nights, especially like as we go into the fall and winter, because I just hate the cold.
I was
so
just saying
much.
that it keeps me engaged in the off season because the seasonal depression is real in where we live.
It's
know?
real.
So
Yeah.
Kansas City is like the worst winter.
Minneapolis might have something to say about it, but
like I know it's not, but it feels like it sometimes.
Yeah, but isn't like Minnesota the like
anytime you can't play outside feels like the worst winter.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
But like northern is like at least they get good snow and it like kind of sticks around and you can do something with it. Here it's like it snows and we're all like, well, we're in misery for 3 days because it's gonna melt.
Yeah,
and
that's
it's
true.
just gonna
That
be
is true.
muddy and disgusting.
I do wish we had more snow.
Or just like stuck around. I don't know. Midwest.
My
is
kids
just
need more
wild.
sledding time. That's a fact.
It's like you kind of just want it to go like one way or the other, like just no snow or lots of it.
But I think that putting night was after you'd already joined UDisc. Because I'm pretty
some
sure,
of them,
at least the one that
yeah.
I went to.
Yeah.
Because I still have a UDisc towel that you brought from that night.
Oh,
Ah.
is it this orange one?
Is that orange right there? It's great. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to touch on one thing though. Before you got to UDisc, you did build something that's called Bag Builder. It's still live.
Yeah. discgolfbagbuilder.com.
Yeah.
Probably most people don't know, but yeah, I built that with a friend. That would have been during COVID. So 2020, kind of like winter. So I was like super into it. And of course, like thinking like, oh, how can I like learn a new skill and like,
Well, you also mentioned like your job
Practice.
like wasn't necessarily challenging you at the time. So it's like, I
right.
need to work on something that's going to like challenge me a little bit.
yeah, so it's something to like kind of pour myself into like in the evenings and weekends. And it was like really engaging. And that was like kind of where the disc golf podcast came in a little bit. Cause I was like talking to them about it and like they were always posting about like, oh, I just wish I had something like this. And so I was like, I can build this. And so I, messed around in the winter and kind of like didn't really have much. But then like at some point, like got with a friend, Wes, who's like, has been a long time like developer friend. And I was just like, hey, let's just do this together. It'd be like a cool way for us to like collaborate and just like hang out and, but like build something. So
work on a project.
So we built Disc Golf Bag Builder and, like got the discs, the little flight path thing and like build a bag and, tried to like run it like we would a business, like, hey, like I remember getting like terms of service and like legal stuff on there, like, which is like kind of silly for like the level it was at. But I just like, what would it look like to like build a business? Cause I'm like kind of in that, like, I don't really like want to be doing my job anymore. So like, what if I could make this a thing? And that was really all I was thinking is just like maybe it'll be some like funny money, on infinite discs, basically. Like if I can get some affiliate revenue to like, it's not going to pay for the time really, but like it'll be fun. And if I can get some like, discs out of it, that'd be great.
You did.
I did. Yeah.
Bag Builder is great and it was great for you. And
Is that
it
still
was
one of the
great-
main ways that people show like their bag to other people on like Reddit and elsewhere?
I'd say there's a couple other ones. There's like My Disc Bag, which launched, like was built at the same time, but launched like 1 month before me. And then there's a new one, I think, called like Disc RPM, but I haven't used it. So there's a couple other ones now. But yeah, so yeah, the interesting thing there is like when UDisc, well, we can get into like how I got to UDisc, because like I was building that, and then, you know, it's running and I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like we've got, you know, we maybe had like 1,000 users. Like, I'm like, this is amazing. Like we have 1,000 people, like, dang. And, you know, work is still like, I'm about done here. Like I've been at my job for like 6 years.
You were getting pretty burnt out there for sure.
Yeah. Kind of like I'm ready for something. And I saw UDisc had an opening. And I was like,
yeah, I was going to ask, like, were you looking for jobs, or did you just happen to see UDisc was hiring? Like, thank God, like, let me at least apply
How did
here.
you see UDisc was hiring? Did you
Yeah.
go to their website and look under jobs, or was it on like a career site?
well, I'm not entirely sure. I'm pretty sure I might have seen it in the app, which is how we've advertised
that makes
since
sense.
several jobs, is like just the little notification in the app, like at the top. That might have been where I saw it, or a Reddit post. It might have been a Reddit post. Actually, I think they posted in the Disc Golf podcast Slack.
Disc Golf
All comes
podcast.
back there.
Yeah, I know. I think I think because Josh was in there, and I think they posted in the Slack, and I replied in that thread, and then like submitted an application. So I was like super nervous. I was like, I don't think I'm qualified for this.
Which is crazy.
And the position was
Was for like
just software engineer?
like a React developer, because I was like, I've never done React before.
Oh, okay.
Like, I don't know, like, and it was like kind of like we're looking for an entry level, you know, like it was like, I don't know, I'm like kind of like,
You're not entry level.
yeah. So I was like, I don't know,
Yeah.
but like I'm ready to like look for something. So
Yes.
I hadn't applied to any other jobs yet, but I was like in that realm.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, let's give this a shot, because like I'm going to be looking for something. And fun fact, I applied to their position like earlier, like the year before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they had a position open that I saw, and I did not make it in. But actually, that's like another story. But
Are you guys? You go to like the retreats, and you're like, you remember when you didn't hire me?
yeah, we can joke about it now.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyway, it developed pretty quickly, I think, because you know, applications were probably open for like a couple weeks, but like it's nothing like now where we get like hundreds of applications now when we put out a job. But I think they still probably got 100 and whatever. Yeah. But yeah, like Bag Builder was part of my application, so I think like that definitely stood out. And it's like great when you can have something to show. Like a lot of times when you apply as like a software developer, you have nothing to show, because it's like, well, like all my work is like proprietary, and we can't like, I can't show it to you. It's like, but that was nice to like have something. But yeah, I just remember like interviewed, and they're like, this sounds great. And then like getting an offer and be like, okay, like, this is it's gonna take some work. Like this is like,
I feel like this is where you come in when you earlier on the you were like, I have some questions.
Yeah, this is a super interesting inflection point in your life.
Yes.
yeah,
Because I remember getting a phone call from you like, this looks like a really interesting job. Mm-hmm. It's also pretty risky potentially. You know, this is early, relatively early disc golf.
yeah.
This is not 2024 disc golf. And UDisc was small. It's not
At
UDisc
least
of
like
today.
tech, at least like disc golf in the tech world, kind of.
Yes.
Right? Is that what
Yes.
you mean? Because I mean, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You know, there are lots of disc manufacturers.
Yes.
There are not any disc golf technology companies except for
Yes.
UDisc. Mm-hmm. And so it was like, I remember you were struggling with like, do I take this jump or feels like a risk worth taking, but it's still a pretty big risk. And I'd be interested to hear how you evaluate the decision points you went through to actually take that job.
Yeah. I mean, like, it was a big, like, financial hit for me. Like, UDisc at that time, like, wasn't in a position to, like, offer, you know, like, standard salaries. And so, like, that was just, like, a point of fact. And so it's like, here's what we can do. And it's like, okay. Like, so, like, that's a big risk. But at the same time, like, I was so burned out at like what I was doing that I was like,
you were in a spot.
Yeah. I was like, what do I want to do? And like the experience building Bag Builder and like just being involved in disc golf was like so exhilarating. Like, it was like, this sounds amazing. And so to like be a part of UDisc, like kind of at this like very early stage still. So like when I was hired, I was number 9, like on the team. I like filled out the Zoom box, you know, so it's like nice 3x3. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
So, you know, it's like, okay, like this is like a big opportunity to like be at this stage. And like also like really be able to like have ownership and like take ownership and like where we can take UDisc as a company. So like I very much wanted to be more than just like an employee somewhere. And so I think that was what was very inviting, is that like Josh and Matt, like they've been co-founders, you know, I think for like, I don't know, 5 years, like they had been doing it by themselves, but at the same time, like they're very open to like bringing on really smart people and talented people that can like, they can give responsibility to, and like, yes, please help. So they're not the type of like, we need to control, and like, they're like, no, like we know, like we want you to come on and like help us. Like we need help, and like, we will trust you to like do what you do best.
That's like perfect for you.
Yeah. And so like, I just knew like coming to UDisc would like give me the type of autonomy and like, just excitement to just like enjoy the product and like work on a product that I enjoy and like want to be a part of and want to dive in on, instead of one that like just somebody's going to tell me like what we're doing.
Yeah.
So.
And that relationship between coming on as a software developer, developing into CTO, where you are really like directing the technology of UDisc in the future. Knowing that Matt and Josh were co-founders of that, and it was just their baby for so long, I'm really interested in how that developed, where they actually gave you the free reign to make decisions and really develop into a CTO role.
Yeah.
When I've got to imagine that's such a tough thing for them to give up after doing it themselves for so long.
Yeah.
Because they're both technical.
Yeah,
it's not like you had a marketing
technical
person saying, "Hey, I need help with technology because I don't know what to do." Like they're pretty smart guys.
And I think like that was like part of the appeal, is that I knew they were technical. So like I think having technical co-founders is like a benefit. Like, because I had worked for a CEO and like other founders that were not technical, and so it's just like they just didn't understand, and they kind of like. But having co-founders that are technical is like, they understand like what the different trade-offs are, and that, like you can talk on that level, which is just helpful. But I think they like saw in me probably like that I like could be at that level, like even if they weren't hiring me at that level. And so I think I kind of had that trust like pretty early on, like kind of from day one. Like I remember my first month, like coming to UDisc, and I was like just evaluating, like, okay, here's what I'm working with. like, no, I maybe wouldn't have made these decisions, but like I can see exactly why you made these decisions, because like you were two people and like you had to make these trade-offs. Like they just couldn't make the best decision. And at the same time, like I was really impressed by what they accomplished with two people. And so like it's kind of like, okay, like they did this and like it works. And like I had spent 5 years building this like immaculate like piece of engineering, but like we had no customers. And so like I like really felt that of like, okay, like that's like probably where like one of the biggest shifts in my career is like I would much rather have customers that like we can serve and like build things for them. And like, yes, the technology is important because it helps us deliver more value to people, because like if we're stuck on bad technology, then we can't build features that people want or need. But to the degree that like we're able to do that, what's really important is like delivering value to people so that they can like improve and like experience that disc golf journey. Like, so anyway, like to get back to your question, I think, yeah, like very early on, I remember that first month, like I was looking at that technology and being like, okay, like this isn't great, but like, here's what we can do. And like, I can do like very quickly, like these 3 things that can like at the very least set us up. And it was just something like, it wasn't something that like nobody had thought of. It was just something that before you had somebody that wasn't like fighting fires, like you just couldn't do it because they were just so heads down. Like they were at the time, they had just built the leagues stuff during COVID, and they like super impressive, like what they did with leagues, like, and that ran until last year when we replaced it. Like, but like they did that in a summer, like just because of COVID, to like really serve a need there. It's super impressive, but they just didn't have time to like kind of set in place like what the things we needed for a bigger company.
Yeah, I was going to ask if there were specifics, I guess, like leagues that you could talk about of, I see where this is architected for 2 co-founders and maybe a couple people, but this is not going to scale to 30 people in a bigger company. Because if you know, when new people come into our company today, there's a lot of mess, a lot of stuff where we're fighting fires and haven't had the time to put in the right systems in place. And so I'm sure you walked into a lot of that stuff.
Yeah. Like, and I mean, if people aren't technical, like we don't need to get into that, the like specific technologies, but it's like, there's things like, you know, that are just like best practices and like, you know, you should do them, but if you don't have time or the like discipline to do them, then it just forever is something you should do. And you're just like, yeah, we should do that. We should do that.
It's not like a negative. It should never come off as a negative. When you're like a startup like that, you have to do what you got to do to get it to the point where it needs to be. But it's not like you're like in love with it. It's just like it works.
Yeah.
And we
it's not going to bankrupt the company if we don't do this thing. So
but we know we're going to address it at some point. But like right now, it is like we said, it's heads down. We got to keep pressing forward and get stuff done.
But like at a certain point, you get to where you can't move quickly anymore because the what you have in place, you're just spending so much time troubleshooting and like what's wrong. Like I made a change and it accidentally broke something that I didn't know about until some random person like emailed us and was like, hey, why'd you break this? Which like disc golfers are great. Like they let us know like when things are broken, and like that occasionally still happens, and like we'll fix it like as soon as we know about it. But like there's some of those things you just don't know.
Yeah. Like I sent you a screenshot of something like literally Sunday morning and then we meet up today and you're like, yeah, it's already fixed. Yeah.
Like it's probably in the latest beta build. Yeah, so like now we have like processes to like even just track that stuff and like make sure it gets addressed. But
I can't imagine like 2 guys just, it's a lot. It's crazy.
That phrase putting out fires hits really close to home, I think, for a lot of people.
Oh, I mean, everyone uses it.
You just constantly run around just, oh my God, something else is broken. I can imagine.
Yeah.
Like you said, in a situation like that.
Yeah. I want to ask this question. I don't know what it is, but maybe it's just because I have kids. But like, I like what you're hearing you say. You're coming into a company okay, I'm coming in and I feel like you're just not really like, I'll do the tasks that are given to me, but I'm not just going to be a task taker. Like that's a term that we use a lot. Like at my companies, like just don't come in here being like a task taker where all you do is come in, we give you tasks, you do them, and then you bounce. And you're just not that style. Like that's just not your flow. That's not what you want to be. But I just feel like there's a good message there when thinking back to the very first question of like, what is a chief technology officer? What's a CTO of a company? You can't just be like a task taker and you bounce, right? And I don't know what my question is, but I think it's just down to, I don't know, when I hear you talk about it, I'm like, yes, that's why you're at the position you're at is because you're not just coming in, clocking in and clocking out. Like a lot of UDisc is remote, if not all of it's remote.
Yeah, we're all remote.
So it's very easy to clock in and clock out and just like, I did my job, right? Like you're happy, like, but you're not satisfied with that. And I think if people want to get into disc golf, into a technology company, I just hearing you talk, I think it's really important that people understand, like, if you want to get to the top, if you want to like help grow your company, you can't just show up and be a task taker.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's one of the number one reasons I think I told you should go take the job at UDisc, because you did something like the disc golf bag builder. And like you were just going to keep doing that kind of thing over and over again until something worked.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, I really think if not UDisc, like disc golf bag builder could have become bigger.
Yeah.
Or pivot into something. But yeah, it's fun to see people who want to spend their nights and weekends on something productive like that.
Yes.
Because that was a smaller chunk of your life, but even that site has helped a ton of people.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, I think like the, I don't know, self-starter, I guess, is like a way to say it. It's like just super important at like any remote company, but like especially at remote companies and especially at remote technology companies. But yeah.
A question that was kind of like, we were all talking offline, but it's just like, did joining a disc golf company like affect your disc golf at all?
Yeah, are you playing disc golf every day? One round in the morning, one round in the evening.
Are you taking the stroller? Are you hitting the dew fields?
Yeah, I think it's more my like age and like parenting life situation that keeps me at like our lunch round a week is like how I keep my streak.
Yeah.
Like that's the one thing I can rely on. But I think like the thing it has changed is like, it's no longer, oh my gosh, I got to like take a half day and like get approval to take a half day off so I can go play. It's like, no, like I don't need to like work around like these like super arbitrary things, because it's like we have high trust, like remote, like whatever. Like,
well,
yeah,
and
like,
to be clear,
it's not
just
a big
in
deal.
case UDisc is listening, Scott is on UDisc the entire round. So
Lots of
he's
testing.
very much testing
much.
UDisc.
Lots of testing to
That
be
is
done.
not a lie. I've never kept one round of scores we've ever played. He has done every single one of them.
Yeah. Yeah. So no, and that's always encouraged by like, it's always been encouraged. If anything, I should be getting out more. But there's been a particular few times where we've released new features that actually require going out and testing, like the map my round or whatever. Like we actually needed to like get out. Like you can't really simulate GPS tracks, but so we actually had to test those. But yeah, it's good to get out.
Yeah. I kind of asked you the similar question, but when you on the last episode of Tech Disc, but like what is a typical week of a CTO? Like what does that look like? I know you kind of explained high level what CTO does, but like when you think of like week to week or just I'm showing up on Monday, what does that like look like for you?
Yeah, like I think it's always a little bit different at such a small company, because like I don't have just one particular maybe responsibility.
Multiple hats, right?
Yeah, so it's always changing, but I think like at our size, and like this is kind of how it's evolved, is like I'm still an individual contributor, and like I'm actively working on like building parts of our product. Like, so I've mostly been on our web team and like building kind of APIs that the app uses or tools for course ambassadors or leagues or whatever. So I'm at least a couple days a week, I have more deep work where I'm like in the code building things. But at the same time, I'm in more meetings than some of our other engineers. I'm like talking with like cross-functional teams, like thinking about the product, like, and like, or a project that we're working on and helping define what it is we're building and like how we can use that. So I kind of take on a product manager role, and sometimes like we don't have a product manager,
Right. Okay.
like person. So a lot of that is filled in from just people that have experience. So like I have experience, so it's like that we fill in that way. CTO specifically, like, and this is still evolving, but like I'm trying to just broaden from mostly just focusing on web team to helping all of our engineering teams. So we have data science and our mobile team, so like Android and iOS and web, and like how all of us can kind of operate as a whole more so instead of distinct functional teams. Like how can we operate better together? Mm-hmm. And so we've had a lot more collaboration recently between web and mobile when building together. So like leagues was like a huge effort for us, and the new community features have also been like a huge kind of collaborative effort, like really across the whole company, but especially across like our web and engineering mobile teams. So yeah, and then like I think the last part is like kind of like look ahead, longer term strategy. Like I spend a lot of time reading books and podcasts, like not necessarily during the day, but just like all the time, because like I'm super interested in like, you know, there's like podcasts that are talking about building products or building subscription products or building like apps or whatever. And it's just like there's so much to learn from other companies and apps and businesses on how they operate and what we can bring that will work for us. So it's like thinking about all of that stuff together.
I want to get into that a little bit because I'm pretty sure I was organically served a YouTube video in my feed of you at some software developers conference.
Yeah.
How did that come about? Is that something you've always done? Like going to software conferences, or you had you end up speaking? And then I really want to know how on earth did I get in my feed?
Yeah, I can't really speak to how it got onto your feed. Maybe you liked.
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
No, I'll try to find different like software. So I'm a hardware guy, but I'll try to, obviously software is pretty important. So I'll try to find different software, lectures or whatnot to kind of at least keep a little bit current on what's going on and what I should be aware of. And I appreciate you helping contribute to that.
Yeah.
Keeping me aware of current trends and best practices.
Yeah.
So how did that happen?
I think I think I was really fortunate in like the group of engineers that like I kind of grew up around, and like these guys we went to conferences, but everybody was like a really strong developer and like articulate and able to like speak about it. And so some of them gave talks, and I was like, well, I guess I should maybe give one. And like, it sounds kind of scary to give a talk, but you say yes and just like figure it out. And I did a couple and they went, pretty well. And so I've done them here and there, but I always am like, was that worth it? Like, it's so much effort to like prepare a talk. But at the same time, it's always like, yeah, like that was cool. So I've always mostly enjoyed it aside for the like week of like frantic like prep.
I'm sure in hindsight it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So to bounce off of that real quickly, I'd love to know how you guys handle who to hire and how to balance professionalism and professional capability with love of the sport. I think a lot of companies in sports or niche sports, you get 150 applicants and there's probably 149 people who really, really love disc golf.
Yeah.
but how many of them are actually great software developers who can become a CTO eventually? So how do you, but a passion for the game is still important to some degree.
Yeah.
Because some people just want to be in disc golf or something, right?
Right.
But it's just like, but do you have... We first have to start with the technical skills. Is what you're asking is like the technical skills most important, and then, but we also want you to love disc golf?
Yeah. Do you guys have a way to balance those two? Are both important to you? Or, how does that shake out in the hiring process?
Yeah, I think first of all, like it's not a requirement that you love disc golf.
Does anyone not play disc golf that works for UDisc?
There are a few that like play very recreationally. Like they're not highly rated. They don't play tournaments. Like
you try not to point and stare.
Very casual.
Just kidding.
They're not invited to the retreat.
At our retreat, we have a party card. They're on the party card. Like
I bet they do a great job.
They have a ton of fun.
Yes.
So like everybody plays, like has thrown a disc, and if you had never thrown, like we might still hire you, but we would like probably like have you throw a disc. But I think like it just kind of comes out a little naturally, maybe that like the people that are super passionate are going to kind of rise to the top a little bit. But yeah, like we've had some interns at the very least that like hadn't really played at all and were great like while they were interning. And it's actually kind of a good perspective to have somebody that's not like super passionate, because they can really bring that like kind of
I don't
alternate
understand
perspective.
what's happening here. Like,
Yeah, like either just the beginner perspective of like, I've never thrown a disc. Like, let me try to onboard into
or
your
like
app.
Caleb
and
being like, I don't know what C1X is.
yeah, exactly. And so you're like, oh yeah, that kind of is like a blind spot. And so in some ways it can be good. But yeah, like we're of course going to talk about disc golf and like what, like where you're at with it. But I think our interview process is like otherwise like very standard, like more technically, at least for engineering anyways, like it's more about the technicals and autonomy and ability to work remotely and being a self-starter. Like those are the things we're looking for primarily. And your interest in disc golf is really just like kind of just shows it kind of through everything you do. And yeah.
I was curious because I think you guys have done a good job of getting high performers and creating a high performance culture.
Yeah.
While still, being very into the sport. I think that's one of the easier traps for companies to fall into.
Yeah.
It's just hiring people who really, really, really like disc golf.
Is that similar at Tech Disc?
We're trying, I think, to create a high performance culture. We're obviously much earlier on than where UDisc is. But just working with different companies across the industry, you can see people who have, companies where, this person's just probably really into disc golf. And no, this person is actually really excellent at their job. And they also love disc golf, but I love working with them because they are incredible at their job. Mm-hmm. And so we obviously want to be a company of people who are incredible at their job and also love disc golf, which is a little bit harder to select for.
Yeah. No, I mean, it has to be really important to like have confidence, especially in a remote culture, to like have confidence and trust in your coworkers and like know that they're not going to drop the ball or like that they're running alongside you like hand in hand and you're not like it. There's just, that's important. So that's like the main thing we're looking for sure.
Something I wanted to ask goes back to both like the initial decision-making process when you were considering, applying for the job and also now that you've been there for several years, like what's it like working in disc golf? And is it everything that's correct up to be? You can kind of talk about this too, like, because it seems like as part of the decision process, you're like, wow, I get to work in my hobby, my favorite thing I get to do. Is it as cool as it sounds?
Like, I think in some respects, like, yes, because like I love hearing about what's going on in like the pro scene, like what's going on in like these course, like it's so exciting to like hear about stories from courses or like this new course that got put in the ground or what the Paul Macbeth Foundation is doing or like we had the inside scoop of like the New York course, and like some of those tidbits are like they're like that's sweet. Like I can't wait for that to be released and everybody knows about it. But it's also like it's exciting to have coworkers that all have the same interests. Like I've been at companies where coworkers are like, we have nothing in common, and then like now it's like, oh, like everybody has at least one thing in common, but as like probably anything goes, like if you have this one hobby, like, oh, it so happens most of us like board games. Like, so there's like lots of crossover. And I think like that aspect is really nice, and like the people are great. So
like,
and
that one thing you guys have in common is the very center of your job, where everything you do.
So like,
which is cool.
It's really awesome to work like all going towards, like we all have this shared interest that we're working towards. So like everybody has something to contribute. At my previous jobs, like in healthcare, like the only person that like knew what they were talking about was like the doctor. Like they're the only ones that can really say like what the product decision is. But it's so cool when you're working on a product like disc golf where we all use the app, we all play, like we all have insights, like they're different insights, but we all have that, like, I would love for it to do this, and like that can make it hard sometimes because we're like,
well, I'm sure you can get passionate.
Like we want this thing, but like, is that really like the thing we should do? Like, but.
And then your friends are telling you things that they think should be in there. I would never do something like that.
I just nod like,
What's the one thing you wanted?
Well, it's funny. Like a lot of things that I think we've talked about over the years,
I'm sure,
have come to be in the app, whether because they're
it's
one of
really
our
smart
ideas,
and you know what you're talking about,
or they just end up, they're common ideas that a lot of people could have had. Like the rating system changing from a pure number to being able to rate different things was a big one we talked about years ago. Mm-hmm. And now that that's in is really cool, and just things like that.
Yeah. Well, I feel like you alluded to the board games thing, but like the retreats is always really fun for me to hear. Like do you go once or twice a year on retreats?
So we have a team retreat once a year. So we get the whole team together. So like being remote, super important to like get together and be face to face at least once a year. We try to have what we call like workshops with like just the smaller teams. So like that way you're seeing your close team like maybe twice a year.
You just had your team.
So our web
come
team,
to KC,
they
right?
came to Kansas City. Yeah.
And went to Texas.
Yeah, we
came to hang out for a little bit.
toured the Texas.
Cool.
Which I haven't seen the new setup, and he sent some pictures.
Get on the UDisc
Maybe you shouldn't have, but
yeah.
I need to come over to see. But like, I remember you talking about your team's coming. You're kind of hosting a little bit.
Yeah, but the team retreat, we try to focus that on like how can we work better together. It's like there's only so much you can do on Zoom, and sometimes you just need to be in person with real sticky notes and
this right here.
Yeah.
Like I just like I don't want to do Zoom. I want to be at a table together. I want to see your faces, high five each other. Yeah.
So we try to and it once a year is like kind of the minimum, but it's expensive. So like we're still pretty frugal about it, but it's important to get together for sure. So this year we're going to North Carolina. So that's next week actually. So
I know. I've always been very impressed that you guys do it. I think it's just, you said like we're frugal about it, but we know it's super important. I just felt like that's always been like, I think that's just super cool.
Yeah.
That UDisc does that.
So we'll get to play some rounds together as a team, like team bonding. I think we're going to play some doubles rounds at Hornet's Nest.
Yes.
So that'll be good.
Have you guys played Hornets?
I've never been to the Carolinas for golf. No. It sounds awesome.
I went to USGC.
I'm jealous.
You've been to USGC.
I've been to USGC a couple times, yeah.
I never played Hornets though.
No.
I've only been USGC.
I played a couple of the courses around there that show up in videos around that time of year, and it's super fun. But
Yeah.
that's a beautiful, beautiful part of the country.
If you are like voting against USDGC course, you should go play it. Because I remember like I was doing like media coverage and, but the rounds would end and I would go play. And I was like, this course is way harder than you think. So I know there's like ropes or whatever. I think people think it's not that hard, of course, but it's very hard. It is longer than you think. But anyways, I'm excited for you to go on that trip.
Yeah.
And you got to tell us about Hornets. So
Yeah, we'll do. I'm sure it'll eat us up, but that's why I was like, I would love to play that doubles because
doubles is a good idea.
Like smart. That'll make it.
It's probably nice having back end access to UDisc, so your scorecards can look a little better.
Just make sure it's
a couple weeks later.
Make sure it's best shot doubles, not alternate shot.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
but yeah, like the retreat is also an opportunity to hand out swag to the team without shipping it all over the country.
Yeah,
so
show that. That's a good.
This
disc.
is our team retreat disc. It's a glitch from last year. This is like the first stamp disc that UDisc has done in probably many years.
Where'd you guys go last year?
Last year was Portland,
man, that
Oregon.
sounds awesome.
It would have been if it weren't 100 degrees. It was actually really hot for whatever reason. It was still good though. This is from, I don't know, a really long time ago. OG logo. Yeah. But no, we don't have swag for everybody, but for our team, that's definitely one nice thing. Get the hats and definitely it was great.
I think the fact that you guys do that is just real. Honestly, it's impressive. I think it's impressive.
It's impressive. It makes perfect sense that you guys can get together. Obviously, for other things you talked about from like a team building and work perspective, but again, you have this thing that you guys can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure people get pretty excited going to North Carolina.
And you probably maybe you or your colleagues can attest to that. Like you're like, I gotta be better than my coworker next time I see them. Practice and be better.
I didn't bring it, but they did make team like bag tags. Ooh. And so I think there's like at least one round for those, but we have some pretty good players. We have some young guns that can throw pretty far. Noah Free. Yeah. Andy Knobloch, Tyler Massey, Duca, like they're up there. They're throwing pretty far. So they are competitors.
And accurate.
Yeah. So,
well, we'll talk about. I want to hear about the Norway trip though a little bit, right?
Norway, yeah,
because that's a beautiful trip. I want to hear about Norway.
So a few of us went to Norway. So we've had a contingent. This was back in UDisc Live days. So when we were doing UDisc Live, we always wanted to send like at least have one or two people at least the majors to like make sure everything went smoothly. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of went to Europe for PCS Open and European Open. And so we did Norway and Finland. And it's kind of dual purpose. Like I think if people don't know, like Europe is the biggest like alternate market for disc golf aside from the US and Canada. Norway, Sweden, Finland are huge and tons of growth in like Estonia and like the other European area. So it's just like super important for us, like as a global disc golf company, like we're not just for the US, like we are for everyone. And so it's super important for us to be there and like understand like there are different cultural norms for disc golf in those countries. Like one example is like they run weeklies very differently than leagues in the US. So it's like kind of the same idea. It's like it's happening every week, but it's like very different. And so just like learning those things and like what are those differences is super important. But yeah, Norway is just absolutely beautiful and Finland's amazing. We got to play not very much because we were super busy, but we did get to play at least once in each country. So I have a little UDisc marker over there.
His map was like mine. It's like, oh, cool, like little US. And then now he's got like a worldwide map.
Yeah. So
on the UDisc app, it's like, damn it, I need to get out there.
At least got to mark off a few courses.
I know.
Yeah. But it's just absolutely beautiful. So
I bet.
yeah.
That's a bucket list. Any of those like Norway, Finland, got to get over there at some point.
Are you going back for Worlds next year?
I
Has it
don't
been
know.
booked yet?
It has not been booked. No, I don't know.
Should we go?
Are you going?
I don't know. It's not booked yet.
You have
But
a booth though, right? So you probably have to be there.
I'd love to get over there somehow, some way. And this seems like a real convenient way.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the time.
Yeah,
That's
I
the
don't know.
time to make your European footprint.
We'll see.
I don't want to leave without talking about two things. These are fun things, but Scott Smirchek here is a Centennial chain crash champion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to, talk about the playoff. That was pretty fun.
That was pretty good. So this was like in my peak form, like super into everything,
Yeah.
like 2019. What's the November?
It's always November,
always
yeah.
like Thanksgiving
This
weekend.
is Lawrence, Kansas Centennial.
Was peak
Park.
form right before UDisc? Is that what happened? That's weird.
Well, he just got a tech disc, so not peak form anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
Peak
It's
form is yet to
improving.
come.
It's
Yet
getting
to
better.
come,
Still
yes.
always getting better.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. But this was like peak of competitive days because now I've transitioned more to
We're traveling.
course collecting.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think I was like wanted to be competitive, and that was like a tournament. I think it was pretty cold. Like it's November, so it could be chilly. But played pretty well. Ended up in the MA2, tied for first, like with a
Yes.
playoff, so that we could like see who could take home the trophy. And yeah, I'll just walk through it a little bit. Like the first hole is like
It's
this
very
super downhill.
Yeah.
There's a basket with like super roll away risk. I throw it, I don't know, pretty close. I thought like probably 23 feet with like a death putt. And the
Yeah, it's
other
a death
guy
putt.
is like definitely laying up. But the next hole, like I had never birdied. So I'm like, I'm going to go for this and like just hope for the best. Airball it, of course. And thankfully it didn't roll too far, but like had probably like a 30-foot uphill.
I don't know, maybe more. It was legit.
Yeah. Okay. But I made the comebacker. So it was
It
uphill.
was epic.
Big putt to like stay in it.
The base of the basket is like
above my head. Yeah.
probably 5 feet above his head. I mean, it's a hill back up. I mean, it's no joke, death putt.
Yeah. I just went up there and I was like, okay, gotta make this.
You have to make it.
So I made it. So we go to the next hole, which I had never done anything better than
And I don't
par.
know. Do you know Centennial very
It's been a
well?
long time. Has it changed much over the years?
No, not a
No.
ton. But this
Okay.
one is where you're throwing
down
back
now.
towards the apartments. So it's
like it's the
there's a
stump
little
hole.
creek and there's a big stump and the basket's off to the left. So you have to throw kind of over this creek to the left.
I don't think that used to be hole one. Anyway.
It's-
Well, it
No.
wasn't. The playoff didn't start. at
Oh,
hole
okay, that
one.
makes more sense.
It started from
Got
the
it.
shelter and you throw
yeah.
it down.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Okay. I'm
And
back
then
now.
you're coming back the other way to the stump over the creek.
Yep.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
It's like 16 or 17, isn't it?
It's not that late.
No, it's like hole 8. Anyway,
Anyways,
So,
it's not an easy
I think I
shot.
tee off first for that shot on the next hole, and I like basically park it like best
yes.
shot.
The first time
You were
ever.
almost too close because this is in a
It's
stump and the
elevated.
basket is so high.
It was kind of nervy because I was so close.
This is where you only see the top half of the chains because it's so high.
Yeah.
It's elevated. Yeah.
But best shot I've ever thrown on that
Oh, it
hole.
was
The other guy,
immaculate.
he almost made it. He was like 40 feet away, like just a prayer to like make it on that, but he missed. And so I just had to like, you know, make a 10-footer
Don't
like at an
trip.
elevated basket. But I did. And so I took it home.
It was so
Yeah.
awesome. It was so awesome. I'm
My
pretty
one-
sure I
my
cheered
one
pretty
claim
loud.
to fame. Yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That's a great story.
But we have a Kansas City Wide Open champion at the table.
It's true.
Probably the only reason he's invited to the table. No, that's a joke. But look at this. I'm going to show this at this camera. I don't know if you can see it. Hopefully. This is him. This is his card. And I got it autographed. He gave it to me while we were watching
Framed. It was not framed
Oh,
when I gave it to you.
I had to frame it. There's no
Pretty impressive.
Framing
That's a
that
keeper.
thing.
Yeah. I don't have one of those. Not signed.
Dude, talk about winning the wide open.
Oh man, I didn't know we were getting into this.
Because I know this is going to be the frame right here. Hold on a sec. One sec.
There you go.
Yeah, talk about the winning the wide
Yeah,
open.
Kansas City Wide Open 2020. So COVID year. I mean, I've grown up in Kansas City playing disc golf, national tour, Ken Kleinville, Dave Feldberg, you name it, right? So it was not a national tour event in 2020. There was the tour was canceled. But 2 rounds, Waterworks, super windy, like 30 plus mile an hour winds at Waterworks. Next day, I was actually on Chase Card at Cliff Drive. Cold all of a sudden. It was like 40 degrees in September. And I was able to get the win. It's a long story, but...
We have time.
I think I teed off at like 7 a.m. in the dark.
Well, and
that day.
one of the things I remember vividly is coming down the stretch, because I don't know if we were doing live scoring back then. I really don't remember much about it. But you guys were watching, the two of you specifically, and I was trying to like make hand signals at you to find out what was happening on the card behind me.
Do you remember this?
And I don't think you guys knew what I was doing because I didn't get anything back. But old Cliff Drive coming down the stretch, 17, or I guess it was, 17, big down the hill. That was the first time I'd looked at scores. I didn't know. So it must have been live because I looked at scores. And I realized I was in the lead, which was a mistake. Because then I immediately made a mistake the next hole, and then I birdied 18 to take down the win. And now it's nice, kind of nice, because everywhere I go, if you're getting announced at a tournament, I'd always know what tournament they're going to announce me as like winner of the Kansas City Wide Open.
Well, and like that has to feel like so amazing that the fact that you grew up here, that is our biggest tournament.
Yeah.
And you are a champion.
Yeah, and it's been cool for it to be, it's back on the Pro Tour now, which is great. And it's, to be able to be, if you look at the list of the winners, it goes Paul Macbeth, Peter Buras, Gannon Burr.
Oh my God.
Yeah, just that's the order. I mean, from one generation to the next, right?
Hell yeah.
One goat to the next. So.
Peter's just passing the torch.
Oh my gosh.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So to be included among those names is pretty incredible one way or another. So
absolutely, dude.
That's a good story.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Congratulations. I have gifts, as always, at C1X. You guys ready for some gifts?
Let's do it.
Hand them
Sure.
out. Dude, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. This is awesome.
great.
I just think this is so fun to be able to sit down. Thank you, Blase. The gifts are, oh no, shit. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
This is why he framed it.
That's why I
Look at
framed
this.
it.
Michael, you were here last episode. We hooked you up. So every package is a little bit different. It's catered here. So, but I just think this is fun. Like, I like being face to face. Like, putting nights are important to me just because, again, it's just face to face. Get together with friends, see each other, play disc golf together, talk disc golf together. I just love it so much. Yeah. So I appreciate it. Scott, thanks for coming on here and just telling us everything about being like sort of behind the scenes. It goes back to your question of just like, what is it like to work in disc golf? And I just think we're at a time now where I think a lot of people are asking those questions. Like, again, I have kids. I have 4 kids. My oldest is in high school now. I just feel like in the back of my head, I'm like, kids are wondering, am I the next Gannon Burr? Maybe not. But is there a career or a lifestyle that I can like live in disc golf? And I think just talking to Tech Disc, talking to UDisc, absolutely. It just depends on how you look at it and what you want out of the career. But I don't know. That's where I'm at. Like, I want to hear behind the scenes of what it's like to work in the disc golf world. And is it like the dream job that everyone talks about? You seem to be loving it. You seem to be loving it. I work a little bit in disc golf. It's great. I love it. So I think the answer is generally yes right now. Our pool is very small. It's like 2-3 people.
But it's a
even
pretty
just
fun
like Cooper,
Kansas City pool. Like the connections
is.
in just the Kansas City community are pretty incredible throughout the industry.
It's kind of insane.
Yeah.
I feel like it's insane.
Yeah, to have you two sitting at the table and then your involvement as well is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Yes. And just Cooper with like, well, I'm going to make my life disc golf and like, I'm just going to buy land and do it. Like, I just think like you can have a life in disc golf if you want it for sure. But finding those areas that fit for you is, anyways, I think that's really fun to talk about. So appreciate you guys. All right. I'm going to try to cipher this. Okay. You're wearing the hat. He picked it out before we even started, so I believe this is your pile.
Must
I'm
be.
just gonna go. I'm gonna go like this, and
Fill
then we'll
in
work
that
our way
hat.
through it.
There we go.
We'll work our way through it.
Thank you.
Okay, Michael, thanks you so much for coming back on. I got you another hat,
Love the hats.
and I got you more stuff. The only thing you're missing is the disc divider, but I gave it to you last
The
episode.
new UDisc.
You got the Ace UDisc
Yeah,
wheel tech.
Michael or Scott.
Velcro.
Here is your nice little pile. I know you've been jelly this entire time we've been giving out
Oh,
the
yeah.
gifts.
That's a lot.
That's true.
Sweet.
Let me walk through this though. Let me walk through this. Everyone's getting a towel. Thank you so much, Grip, for sponsoring all the episodes. We got a new towel. Everybody needs new towels. Again, here is a disc divider. If you don't know, I'm going to tell you about it so you know.
This was the one I was waiting for.
Good. The disc divider is a very underrated product. The best way that I've been describing to people is think about your drawer in your kitchen. It's got your forks, your spoons, your knives, everything sorted perfectly. You put this in your main compartment. You can organize anything however you want. You can put a 6-pack on one half, and you can put all your discs on the other half. You can do whatever you want. You can go, these are my mid-ranges, my fairways, my drivers. However you want to organize your bag, this is very, very handy. So there's that. We also have a UDisc
Ace.
Ace.
That's
Whale
That's
sack.
their name, yeah.
Ace is the character on here. He's my favorite. But everybody's got to always have dry hands. Got to be filling those discs properly. We also have some Grip Flex minis. These are great. I love these because a lot of minis you get are like sort of the shape of a buzz or a disc or something like that, which are fun. And you can go to the World Championships and play mini World Champs if you want and throw them as far as you can. But these are great because, you know, if you get angry, you can sort of use it as a stressor, squeeze those up. They also just slip into the side pockets very well. They're very, very cool. I
Looks
love
like
these.
it doubles as a coaster.
That's like the squeakiest thing you've ever heard in the mics. I understand. We also have a bunch of stickers here. Grip, but if you don't know, if you buy anything from Grip, you're getting these 2 stickers. So if you love stickers, buy from Grip. You're going to get them. Also, we're repping C1X. Love that. Also got some handful of patches here. We have the Cosmic one, which is one of my favorites.
I like that Cosmic one a lot.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's great. Classic Hex. And then this is the one, this is my favorite, Good Vibes Only. Good Vibes Only. Like, otherwise get off the course. But yes, thank you so much for Grip. Also, I got to shout out BKS. We've been drinking it all night. So nice of you guys. I just reach out to these guys. They are local. They're in Brookside. And I think they're one of the best brewers we got in town. And they're so supportive of disc golf. They always support Kansas City Wide Open. They did a special brew of Kansas City Wide Open. They did their own label design and
Still have one
everything.
of the cans in my
yeah.
basement.
You
Yeah,
do?
so cool, yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, they are.
Yeah, shout out Matt Oval, did the design for those.
Oh, does he really?
Yeah. In the past, I don't know if they're doing it again, but
Hell yeah. And Alex
Mossy.
thank you so much. Yes, this beer is so good. So get to BKS Artisan Ales, Brookside, Kansas. I believe they brew a new beer every week. They're ridiculous. So good. But again, thank you so much, guys, for coming on the show. Appreciate all of you.
Thanks so
It's
much
been
for
great.
having
Thanks for
us.
having us.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes. C1X out. Peace.
Cheers.